One area where we know the EPA must take quick action is addressing PFAS and other forever chemicals. And in my state of New Hampshire, nearly half the population gets their water from private wells. And if PFAS chemical emissions seep into the ground and penetrate your well, families are at serious risk for exposure of this toxic chemical. We have increased levels of child cancer and other health impacts. In the southern part of New Hampshire's Merrimack Valley, several communities have had to deal with the aftermath of PFAS exposure. And some residents have had to rely on bottled water for drinking and cooking for years and must shower and bathe in water that they know contains PFAS. And on top of all this, the value of their homes declines dramatically until they're ultimately connected to utility water systems. This is no way for Americans to be living in the 21st century. And we need bold leadership at the EPA to clean up these contaminated sites and safeguard the American people. So last year, the House passed the PFAS Action Act, including my bill to turn off the tap on PFAS chemicals. For years, I've pushed the EPA to use its authority to protect families and hold contaminators accountable. And that's why I was so pleased to see the EPA issue 2 rules last month to put us on track to have PFAS drinking water regulations nationwide. This is so important. With more than 4,700 PFAS chemicals in commerce, it's abundantly clear we need to address this important issue. So Administrator Browner, let me start with you. In your testimony, you said strong public health protections are even more essential than ever. Can you elaborate on the need for public health protections and how PFAS fits into that goal?
Thank you, and I appreciate the question. The role of EPA is to protect all Americans. And what that frequently means is let's protect the most vulnerable. And frequently that is children, that may be pregnant women, that may be indigenous people, but that we need to really ensure that everyone is protected, not just some of the population. And so when I talk about strong public health protections, what I'm talking about is just that. That we set our standards based on the most at risk, because we know if we protect the most at risk, we're protecting everybody.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Cleland-Hamnet, I know you were deeply involved in efforts to reform the Toxic Substances Control Act. Does the EPA have the right authorities under this act or any other tools to effectively protect the public from PFAS contamination?
Yes, I think that the amendments to the Toxic Substances Control Act that were signed into law in 2016, if properly implemented and resourced and moved along at the right pace, could very much contribute to the agency's efforts to address PFAS chemicals. I think there's some very important authorities there to require further testing and monitoring of chemicals, to look at whether certain uses of chemicals and releases of chemicals from those uses and manufacturing are presenting significant risks. And for my former part of the agency that it implements TSCA to also work with the drinking water program and other programs and with the regional offices and the states to help provide the science and the information to make it possible to get these nationwide standards in place, and where it's appropriate to turn off the tap for some of these chemicals that are already in commerce, but that could be replaced by something less problematic, and to keep some of the newer ones. Even we've known about the problems of PFAS chemicals for a long time, but new ones have continued to come onto the market. So I think we need to look at that preventive aspect of it as well.
Well, I'll certainly be bringing the bill back on the turning off the tap. Just wondering, actually my time is up, so I will yield back, but thank you again for all your good work. Look forward to working with the EPA again.